Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Corbett, and with me is my good friend, Mr. Matt Germain. How you doing, buddy?
I'm a little worn out from all the late nights that the World Series are dragging me through, but other than that, Mark, I'm really enjoying myself.
Okay, long nights. Come on, dude. They can't do this to old people like me. You're young. You're a young, strapping fella, but I see Craig Calcaterra even complaining about trying to stay up and watch Game 3 of the World Series. It didn't break a record, but it sure met one for the longest game.
Yeah, I think if you probably take all the commercials and all the times, I mean, I don't know, like in terms of, you know, the length of time, I think there's one that had a longer period of time, which was 7 hours, 20 minutes. This one was 6 hours, 39 minutes. So, it's one of those rarities, regardless of how you spin it. And definitely threw a lot of people for a loop because we knew the Rob Manfred rule of having somebody on second wouldn't be in the playoffs, but with two high-powered offenses the way they have, and the Pens being questionable on both sides, I think most people who know baseball thought, well, one of these teams is going to score at some point within, a couple of innings, not an entire second game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I thought, oh, are we just going to count this as games 3 and 4? I mean, coming back the next morning after that, what the stats, Matt, was between both teams, there was a total of 19 pitchers.
Mhm.
So, that's just completely insane. And you want to talk about going deep in your bullpen. I think they even had a catcher, take the mound at one point in there. It sounded familiar from some of the days when the Rays were getting a real tough game.
Yeah, the other question I have, Mark, and nobody talks about this, but did they reopen the bars and serve beer again? Like at some point, when you're in the third, fourth, fifth inning, past the ninth, you're thinking, there's money to be made here. People are thirsty. Are we are we reopening the taps? What's going on?
Thank you. Thank you. That's one of the first things Karen and I said the next morning. It's like, there's really a good opportunity for people who actually want to stay and watch the entire game. And you're no longer feeding them alcohol after seventh. Okay, I get some of that. But surely there's other beverages and food and concessions. And I haven't seen anything saying that they did keep that open. But my gosh, man, people needed something. I mean, there should have probably been some Mountain Dew and some other energetic drinks at least offered to the crowd.
Yeah, get some coffee going. Get people to be able to be hyper and at least up to the task of staying hyper vigilant during the game. But it was a lot of fun. The whole thing turned out on the opposite side of what we had hoped for, I think, on that game. But the more interesting story, I think, was despite all that. I mean, you go to 18 innings toe to toe with the Dodgers, you lose a heartbreaker, and in the same day that you lost that heartbreaker of a game, you're playing them again, and Shohei Ohtani is on the mound. I mean, the story of Ohtani, the transition from that game and what he accomplished during that, and then getting on the mound and pitching and still continuing to DH. I don't think if you had told anybody 15 years ago that that would take place, that a single soul on the planet would have believed you.
No, exactly. I mean, I could think of how much I was actually asking of Otani. I mean, because the night before he had what, like 9 at bats and what 4 or 5 intentional walks. But the man was on base, I think, one way or another. So you think of the physical wear and tear, if you will, on him and staying up there like this. This is a guy who treasures his sleep. It's very critical to part of his training. And but nonetheless, if I'm a Blue Jay and I'm thinking I have to face Ohtani on the mound tomorrow, oh, good Lord, really? I mean, that just had to be frustrating. But it was a good game by both teams. They really put it out there. It's been interesting though, because I got to tell you, Matt, listening at the beginning of this series, and I was hearing some of the announcers saying, yeah, this Blue Jays team, a lot of people really don't know much about them. I thought there's only 30 teams in the freaking MLB guys, and this team has been doing, killing it. And you're acting like somebody hasn't heard of the Blue Jays before this. That really gets my ire, man. That gets me going. But they actually proved what they could do facing the number one multi-talented player in the league, last night. So it was great to be able to watch. Was it Bichette and Guerrero Jr. both were tearing it up. Both made some scores off of Ohtani. That was just exciting as could be.
Yeah, especially the Guerrero Jr. one, because it was at a moment in time when the Jays really could have broken down. They were down 1-0 after that loss the night before. Things didn't seem to be chugging at all. They were kind of stale, right? They felt like they weren't really getting any kind of momentum. And everybody, a lot of the stories that I'd heard, MLB, XM Radio, and a couple of other places, the stories seem to be, well, Ohtani showed up, but where's Vladdy Guerrero? And I think he knew that. He knew he needed to step up. He knew that their roster was a bit short without Springer in there. And when he hit that 2-run bomb off of Shohei Ohtani, it changed everything. It changed the game. It changed the series. It changed the momentum of the Blue Jays. All of a sudden, that spark went off. And you saw it in their faces and in their attitude and how they walked up to the plate and on the field. They knew they could win that game. And that's always been the case, that they wanted to bring the series back to Canada, right? That was one of the major focuses. You're going to LA. Yes, you lost one at home, but you need to bring that series back to Canada to force the issue with the Dodgers and give yourself a chance. So I think that home run from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., even though it wasn't a late innings one, it wasn't a walk-off, it wasn't a momentous, like, you don't get as excited about a fourth or fifth inning home run as you would in the eighth or ninth, when things are a little bit more amped up. But in this case, I would rank it with, as if the Jays were to go ahead and win the World Series, unless there's something major that happens between now and then, it would have to be one of the top 3 to 4 Jays home runs ever, because it just meant so much for their mindset in the series and being able to move forward, knowing, yeah, we lost a heartbreaker, but we got ahead and we followed through with earning a win the same day that we lost that game.
Well, and I think it was kind of critical too, Matt, because they just lost George Springer, and I mean he brings an energy, he brings a power at the bat, and if he's not there, it's really going to be incumbent on Vladdy Jr. to make something happen. I mean, not that obviously others as well, but my gosh, I could see where some players would maybe get down in the dumps by saying, "Oh my gosh, Springer's not going to be able to play."
It's kind of weird because in this case, it was kind of a musical chairs situation, because you have Springer, who is clogging up the DH role, who now Bichette can slide into the DH role and allow Kiner-Falefa to slide in at second, and then put Lucas over the outfield. So in a way, the Jays got more athletic and healthy at second base and in right field, while still including a bat in Bo Bichette that you could argue is above and beyond what George Springer provides. So yes, there's a drop off in the lineup. I'm not saying that, obviously with Kiner-Falefa being in there instead of Springer, but what I'm saying is it wasn't such a steep drop off that the Jays can't win or can't produce runs or have a productive lineup, right? So I think that's important for them moving forward. And so far, I don't think we've heard anything about Springer being out for the entire World Series. And they do get a break between LA and Toronto games. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pop back into the lineup. But the other interesting thing that happened yesterday was Ty France getting in that bat. So that was an important one, to know that he's an option off the bench and that they will use him. That's a signal to LA, who now have to make certain moves, knowing that Ty France, who's a very capable bat, can come in at any point in the game and be of impact. So Yeah, it's such an interesting series. And I want to tip my hat also to Chris Bassett, who's been asked to do a completely different role, change his entire routine, and he's just living he's looking so dominant as a reliever because he's got the whole bag of tricks and he's just amping up the velocity a little bit. And I think, if ever he wants to make that transition to a relief pitcher and do it long term, he definitely looks the part, Mark.
Well, I was impressed too. I saw his name come up. I thought, no, 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 no. He's a starter. What do you mean to put him in now? And then yes, I seeing him take the mound and deliver the goods. There was no sense of pride or prestige as a starter or as a regular pitcher that slowed him down with what he was able to do for the team the other day. And I thought, man, and they used him a couple of days. I mean, I think in a row, didn't they? They used him. I know they did on Game 3, and I think they did on Game 4 as well.
Right. So the next question I'll ask you, Mark, is Trey Savage and Blake Snell are going tonight. We'll get to them in a little bit in terms of who do you think will do better. But beyond that, the Jays are more likely going to use Kevin Gossman. But who do you think the Dodgers go to after Blake?
I mean, do they just follow the same lineup they had last time? Do they pull Yamamoto in there, or do they pull Glass now? I'm not sure. I would think they would. I think it becomes critical. I think they'll pull Yamamoto in there. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. But it'll be interesting to see all four of those guys, right? Snell, Savage, Yamamoto, and Gossman, to see which ones are most resilient in terms of still tricking guys after they've been seen just a few days before. So I'm really curious with Trey Savage tonight to see if he can actually change things up enough to keep the Dodgers from running up the score against them. The first time through is a little bit easier because the first time they're getting used to things, but you saw him being under pressure quite a bit in the last start. Having said that, how many of the spots was he missing because he was so stressed out about the emotion, the event, being in Toronto, open the first game of the series, etc. So it'll be interesting to see, can Blake settle in? Can he actually be more efficient in his pitches? Or are the Jays now, saying to themselves, we have the playbook, we know how he operates, and we're going to be even more patient this time and get him out in the fourth? So, so many good storylines in this series still to come.
I think Trey Savage had to feel a little more comfortable after watching Snell have the difficulties that he did on the mound. I think one inning he had, I think it was many as 29 pitches in that game. And it's like you see the mortal, the feet of clay of this two-time Cy Young winner. And it's like, wow. That's right. Is it two times? See, yeah.
Yep, it is. Yeah. And what does it say about the Rays pulling him with the way that it went down in that start? Right? It's pretty much how the Rays envisioned that it would have gone down with Blake and the way that it did go down with Blake this time around.
Yeah, I can only imagine Kevin Cash, that night sitting on the couch and looking at the TV and taking his hand and pointing toward the TV and saying, see, that's why I did that.
Exactly.
Oh gosh. No, I am just so thankful we've got to see a lot of these guys come through, whether it be Glass now or Snell. And then even what the other night, Banda, pitching and seeing him get up there. I've almost forgotten about him.
Yep. Yeah, it's an X-Rays extravaganza.
Oh, goodness. So tonight we've got the same two guys as we had in game one. And I think these teams probably got enough. They haven't had an extra day to catch breath after that long game, but they're definitely going to be better than they should be, more rested than they were for last night's game.
Right. I don't know if you looked at the lineups for tonight, but the Jays did something interesting, and they're putting Schneider up in the top spot. So they're playing some different guys. They're using a different approach. But I do like the fact that they have Varsho and Clement in the middle of their lineup. And I think that's the point that Blake seemed to really struggle to go through, is that core of the lineup between Kirk and Barger. And it was just that Kirk wore him down, Varsha wore him down, Clement wore him down, Barger wore him down, and it just seemed to really get to him for some reason because of the types of at bats that they were putting up. So it'll be interesting to see, which one of those guys can get quick outs, which one of them gets better support on the field. I mean, Will Smith caught what, 18 innings?
Yeah.
2 games ago, and then he had to catch again last night. So how worn is he right now? And he's
Jeez.
hitting in the 2 hole for the Dodgers. So I mean, they're asking quite a bit. I know a guy can have horse legs all he wants, but at some point they start feeling like Jello, and I don't know. I'm hoping that it's going to continue to be an interesting series and continuing to be a seesaw battle, because I do think that makes for the best playoffs.
There has been a lot of excitement thus far. And I'm curious too. I was looking also so they're bumping up Smith to the number 2 spot in place of, how do you say his name? Is it Pages? Looks like Pages, but I know it's not that.
Hayes isn't playing tonight because I think he's been having a bit of a hard time at the plate. And so they put in a guy that I don't know if a lot of people know about him, but it's Alex Call is his name. He's a lot different in terms of a player. I don't know that he's going to have much of an impact. He's sitting in the 9 spot, so who knows, how many at bats they expect him to get. But he's an on-base percentage guy. So if you're looking for a guy that will actually be able to wear down the opponent's lineup, or sorry, pitcher, then he's that type of guy that'll actually be able to chip in a little bit there.
Were there any special moments in the games that something that amused you? Not something necessarily that was the greatest baseball in the world, but something that said, isn't that neat?
Um, I don't know. I think it's the way that players look around, right? To me, that's so we often think of, like, especially when you're a young fan or whatever, you think of these guys as icons, and you see it a lot too when they go in the All-Star game and they look the way they look around and talk to each other and how they feel and look and just act as if they're just as much in awe of things as everybody else is. But the Blue Jays players, when they're looking around and they're just talking, chatting, they look in their eyes, there's this kind of sense of, they pinch me. I can't believe that we're here, sort of thing. And to me, it brings them back down to that kid level where you see that joy of just being able to reach some of your dreams that you had set out for yourself when you were playing Little League and throwing the ball with your dad in the backyard or your mom in the backyard. It's one of those things that's special about the World Series is the moment is bigger than yourself. And so it comes out in how the game is played. So the other thing that I'll mention is all the little plays that normally you think are very simple, all of a sudden become huge events. Like, yes, I caught the ball. Yes, I threw it the first well. Yes, I didn't bounce it 5 times on the way there. Like it's so when people do things quote unquote perfectly, it stands out even more because people will tell you afterwards. Like I think Addison Barger was asked, like, what do you remember about the at bat when you hit the home run? You hit a 4-run or a grand slam. He said, I don't remember anything. It was an out of body experience where it just sort of, I knew what I had to do. I had to move. I had to run towards first base, but I didn't feel any of it. It was just out of body experience. I can't believe this is taking place. Did that really just happen? And so I don't know. Those are the moments and the things that I really, really gravitate to because they show the human. When people talk about the human side of baseball, that is the human side of baseball that I enjoy.
I mean, I did like that, especially about Will Smith. He's just he's a superb player. He's an old Louisville, Kentucky boy as well. So went to University of Louisville and he's a great player there. So it's really interesting, Matt. I think you and I both talked about this before. If we don't have a team in there that we're the hometown team, we look across at all these players who we watch either play for the Rays or have some kind of connection with in the past and can enjoy whatever moment they're experiencing right then and there. Even though in my heart of hearts of this, I want the Jays to win. There's certainly moments with the Dodgers I've enjoyed watching. One of them, though, was there's a couple of interesting ones for me. One, I can't even remember who the guy was at bat, but it was with the Blue Jays,
Mm.
and let's see, who was it? Bichette. Bo Bichette was on first, and then it looks like it's a walk. The last pitch was way out of line, so Bichette's just kind of standing between first and second, and they get the ball over and they tag him, and he's out. And it's like everybody there, all the announcers, anybody else, thought that it was going to be called a ball. And the umpire called it so late because the batter had actually walked away about 10 or 12 feet before it seems like the call was actually given. And it's the weird moments like that in the game sometimes, they grab me. Another one I'll tell you, is Steve Varland when he was pitching. And sometimes I'm watching the game out of the corner of my eyes. Oh, well, he balked there. Oh, wait a minute, he balked again. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, those are three intentional balks. He wants to get Max Muncy off of second base, who's behind him, so he's not watching how he's setting up for his next pitch. And it's those little strange things like that happen in the game sometimes that make it as amusing or fun as anything else for me in the game.
Absolutely. No, those are good points, Mark.
Did you want to talk more about the Rays and some other things at this point?
I think the managerial carousel is starting to settle in. So the first hire, the first big one, I think, just happened, and Derek Sheldon is going to be the manager of the Minnesota Twins. So I think we had talked about how we didn't think he was going to be on the market long. He was handed a very, what would you call it? Maybe an extreme situation with the Pirates in terms of the the resources he was provided. So I don't think anybody ever marked his record against him when it came to what kind of jobs he was going to get next. So at the same time, while he's going to settle into Minnesota, and I think they're getting a great person who's going to have a lot of fun with that roster as compared to what he had with the Pirates. It's still not a large market team per se, but at least they do spend and they do keep their stars around. The other one that I've heard is Rocco Baldelli, who left the Minnesota Twins, might be heading over to the Nationals. So that one's not official yet, and he's kind of like one of the last, trio of people they're looking at, rumored to be looking at. But I think he would be a great fit there because more than anything, they need somebody who can relate to the young guys, but also settle them down and actually, put enough rules in place that they're not running around a little bit rampant. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the guys that are available settle in. I know there's still a lot of managerial vacancies, but the last one that I want to mention is, I guess the latest ex-Rays manager that's going to be the Orioles manager. And like Matt Gattaro, who's in the Royals, Craig Albanaz was, a long time Rays minor league player. He got to coach with the Rays system for a few years, and then now he's been hired by the Orioles to manage their team. I think that's a really, really great under the radar snag by the Orioles. Craig is a very, very intelligent person. He kind of takes everything in around him. The way people talk about him is more like the managerial version of what Kyle Snyder is to the Rays. Like he's just seems to fit in well with everybody, can tone down situations when they're high stressed, can talk both analytics and the old school kind of managing. So I think he's going to be a very, very, very tough manager to face for everybody that's in the AL East right now. So I think that was a really solid ad by the Orioles.
Yeah, I was really glad to see it. It's always interesting to see the whole Rays dynamic, whether it be Montoyo or some of the other ones who've left the Rays and become managers and see the penetration they have throughout the entire league. But that was pretty cool. See, Texas Rangers hire Skip Schumacher? No, that can't
Did
be
they?
it.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that's on Yahoo Sports. I have to do a little depth on that. I'll take this out if it's not accurate. But there's always so much going on. You know what I forgot to do is We got a World Series commercial we were supposed to put in, and it's Ronald Reagan. So we'll take a break right here. And here's a special message from a former president about baseball, as if we hadn't heard more about baseball and Ronald Reagan recently. Here's one more.
He said he'd been having dinner over at the home of a young ball player with the Dodgers. The young wife was bustling about getting the dinner ready. They were talking sports, and the baby started to cry. And over her shoulder, his busy wife said to the ball player, "Change the baby." And he was a young fella, and he was embarrassed in front of Danny, and he said, "What do you mean, change the baby? I'm a ball player. That's not my line of work." And she turned around, put her hands on her hips, and she communicated. She said, "Look, Buster, you lay the diaper out like a diamond. You put second base on home plate. You put the baby's bottom on the pitcher's mound. You hook up first and third, slide home underneath, and if it starts to rain, the game ain't called. You start all over."
Oh, good gravy. Well, I'm glad we're getting some, presidential guidance here in the United States. And even if it is from the past, and there's a few diapers I think that still need to be changed, but I'll leave that. We'll get back here to baseball. So, Mr. Matt, now that we've taken a look at the World Series and we've also taken a look at some of the movement with the managers, there's still a lot going on. I know with some of the assessments you've been doing with the Rays and what the expectations might be for the next year.
Right. I've been hearing a lot of players being pushed. What about this guy? What about that guy? Money being an issue for a lot of teams and not so much for others. So anybody that knows what's going on with St. Louis Cards knows that Chaim Bloom is probably going to be, or is reportedly going to entertain moving Sonny Gray, Nolan Arenado, and the other one that I find very intriguing for the Rays is Brendan Donovan. So Brendan Donovan is the kind of player the Rays love. He's sort of like a Joey Wendell-ish kind of player, but with a little bit more power and a little bit higher average and on-base bat. So, it's an upgrade, basically. He can play second, third, shortstop, third, and in the outfield. So in terms of looking at the Rays and how they can improve things, let's say for whatever reason they want to hang on to Brandon Lau, they want to hang on to Yandy Diaz. Yeah, I did, yeah. Well, they need players of impact that can chip in at shortstop and in the outfield to kind of amp up the breadth of the lineup, basically, and make sure that they're still getting strong play defensively. But what it would do is essentially push the Rays into a more experienced bench situation, which I think would be a really, really good help for them for next year. It would help them to move a couple of guys that they can't protect into Rule 5, which is always a concern when you're getting towards November. And he's affordable. So he's going to be arbitration eligible this year. He's still controllable next year. And I think he becomes a free agent in 2028. So they get 2 years out of him. The 2 years means that the cost will be high, but not insanely high in terms of acquiring him. And the Rays have a lot of moving pieces. So what I threw out tonight was an example of, if they can find a third team that is looking for a reliever and they can offer up Pete Fairbanks as one of the major pieces in the three-way trade, then they can offset the rest of it with a prospect or whatever, and they're still bringing in a player that's going to be of immediate impact. And at the same time, they're finding Pete a home where he can be competitive with a team that actually wants to have him. I've heard some people talk, what if they just decline Pete Fairbanks's $11 or $12 million option? And I think anybody that knows the Rays knows that they're going to want to get something back if they are going to lose Pete Fairbanks for 2026. So I think Pete Fairbanks and Brandon Lau's options will both get grabbed. It's just a matter of whether or not they keep either one aboard. And if they do dangle one, which one it'll be to be able to get somebody like Brendan Donovan. I threw out Matt Wallner before from the Minnesota Twins. I think he'd be a great grab. And Ryan O'Hearn as a free agent is another guy that I think would fit well with the roster. But the fact that Chaim Bloom is going to be the guy on the other line of of the phone with Eric Neander tells me that there's a good chance that a deal could get made between these two teams this offseason.
Network that that we look at from the Rays, it always amazes me.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you told me what Eric Neander was going to be able to do, when he first came here, I'm surprised. I thought, oh, here's another stock guy, another guy who's come in from working mergers and figuring other things out with Stu. It's just somebody who doesn't necessarily know much about the game. Maybe he's done some fantasy baseball or something. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, I was so grossly wrong and underestimating, what he was able to do with his team, and then what he was able to do with nurturing the talent beneath him, and how valuable they became to more teams across the league. He has just made such an impact on the game far beyond, the Rays in the American League East.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at Chaim Bloom's time uh with the Red Sox, he did make trades with the Rays when he was there. And I mean, I think at the time the Rays hadn't really been making moves often with AL East teams, but they did make a few together, like when he did join the Red Sox. So I would be really shocked if something didn't happen between the two. Now, everything that we're reading online says that it's going to be bold moves that he's going to be making with the Cards. Now, bold is relative. It depends on what your version of bold is. But the one thing I do know is that he values prospects very highly compared to what John Mozeliak would have done with the Cards, right? And what I mean by that is other people's prospects, not his own. So the Cardinals historically have always been like, the the scene in Finding Nemo when the seagulls are going mine, 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 mine. That's essentially what the Cards are with their prospects, right? They don't like to ship them out if they can help it. The one caveat with that is outfielders. They always seem to be able to produce outfielders like crazy, so they do ship those out a little bit. But the way forward for the Cardinals is definitely a youth movement. And I think anybody that's making money right now will be offset, and then they'll reload with a few free agents that are in key positions and help them move ahead.
Chaim Bloom, trying to judge him from some of his first moves was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you take the guy, John Henry brings him in with the Red Sox, and the next thing you know, they're getting rid of one of the most beloved Red Sox players of time. That's Mookie Betts. It's like, my gosh, what happens with your career from there? You're not beloved by the fans after a move like that. And some would question the wisdom of that move, but it was in following what the ownership wanted. So I'm wondering now with Chaim Bloom and the Cardinals and bold moves, is that something that the ownership's saying, let's make bold moves, Chaim?
I just think, like, if you're looking to change the culture and direction of a team towards the positive, things have to change, right? Like, and when I think now that people have had a chance to digest what he did in Boston, and he was able to bring guys in like Marcelo Meyer, Kyle Teal, Roman Anthony, all these core players that are going to be important parts of teams moving forward, and they're able to take a longer look at the draft picks that he brought into the organization, and also the focus of the team in terms of which free agents they're going to go, how aggressive they're going to be internationally, going to the Japanese market, there's a whole bunch of things that he was able to do, including an extension for Rafael Devers. Now they stepped away from the Rafael Devers, situation eventually, but nonetheless, there's a lot of things that happened that that kind of put him in better light than he otherwise would have been. So I think he's going to the Cards with a clean slate. He has a little bit of experience with him now and a lot more confidence because, like you said, if you're trading Mookie Betts, any deal after that is going to be easier to do. Alex Anthopoulos' first trade with the Blue Jays was Roy Halladay. So when you're able to make those big, significant moves afterwards, every other one beyond that is somewhat easier and more tolerable from your point of view. So it's a good thing because it opens up all of the possibilities. He's not going to be hampered by saying, well, that can't happen because this name is just not movable. That will never be the case for Chaim Bloom. So I think he's going to do a really good job in St. Louis. I just don't know how significant are the number of moves that he wants to make that aren't the obvious ones right away. Like if he has his eye on certain players that other people may have overlooked, then it might be a lot of moves that he makes. But for guys that we may look at initially and go, oh, well, that's not really that significant. And then 3 years later, you're looking at it going, whoa, when did he get that guy? So it's going to be really fun to watch. That's my favorite part of the systems and the teams is to watch how they revamp and reload and how they gear up their team. So Chaim Bloom is definitely Rays centric, but I don't think he's ever also been given a fair chance to do the full gamut of what it is he wants to do. So hopefully he gets that with the Cards.
Well, I hope so as well. I think that, like I said, I think he had kind of a raw deal in the very beginning, but he has proven himself. And that's showing up. I don't think they would have brought him in if they didn't see the value in what he's already achieved beyond that. But it was kind of a rough start beginning, but glad to see he's moving along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, my friend. What else is going on?
Question for you, Mark.
Please go ahead.
Do you know anything about the WPBL draft and where it's going to be taking place? Is it going to be televised? And have they named the teams yet?
Yeah, they're no.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. I mean that there are the teams they put together. Initially, I was hearing that there was going to be 6, but they're actually wound up with starting out with 4, and it's probably just more manageable. The teams. The last thing I heard is there's the New York, Boston, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Now, maybe they'll be like the Washington football team, and they might be that for a year or two. But I have yet to hear that. Surely there's going to be some sponsors. I'm taking a quick look at their page right now. I don't see anything new as far as naming who's going to be what. A lot of what they did as far as picking these teams, I'm trying to think back to the days when there was the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And they tried to balance out those teams. So I'm not sure who's going to be making all those decisions, to be quite honest with you. And I do want to reach out to San, and I'm going to reach out to the folks in the organization, and we'll find out more about it, because it's a humming, man. It's something we talked about. It's going to be coming for a long time. See how it comes.
Because I know it's within the next month that they want to do the draft. So I'm just trying to think, okay, if I'm starting this new league and I want to have, the attention of everybody, it makes sense that you want to announce all that after the World Series ends, right? So that makes perfect sense. I think that there's an opportunity there in terms of where you have the draft, right? So I would almost have a lot more fun with the draft portion just to get everybody's interest out. Like, I don't know exactly how you do it, but I know there's 15 players per team, right? So you're looking at 60 players getting drafted. So where could you hold it where you would have everybody's attention, and you're calling it out, you get the announcer that does the boxing, announcing or whatever you want to do. You have fun with it just to kind of, almost line them up right then and there and say, these are your teams. These are the uniforms. These are the looks that we're going for in terms of the teams, and set them all up there on the stage somewhere or in the room. Just to kind of set the stage for what the season's going to be like and grab everybody's attention.
Well, I definitely want to find out more about it and have some of those folks on the show, because it is a great story to tell. And like if there's something about the draft, it's always, it's invigorating to see what's going to come, especially with a new league like this. It's going to be crazy. I know I've seen initially, I saw names like, even Kelsey Whitmore on there. I don't know if Kelsey's going to be doing that or not.
Tommy Sato as well. I think that's or Sato
Yeah.
from Japan. There's a lot of names there that I think, first of all, sometimes you may not care right away, right? Like you're somebody tuning into that draft, and all of a sudden they name somebody that's from, a town that's nearby, or even just from your state or your city or whatever. And all of a sudden you care and you're like, hey, that person. Then you monitor them when they're playing on that team. Also, it's a great time, the draft for me, to learn about the players. Like, especially you'll watch the MLB draft and you'll be like, oh, I don't know this name. And then all of a sudden they'll go through, oh, he played here, he did this, he did that, blah, blah, blah. And they explain the story. Well, that storytelling portion is a huge part of why you want to have the draft be public as possible, and have it aired on networks somewhere, so that everybody can learn about these names and get to know these players as quick as possible.
Well, and there's a great deal of them from up north. Let's see. There's even from St. John's in Newfoundland up there in your area. Got some from British Columbia. Who's that? That is Juliet Klatko, and St. John's. That's Jada Lee. My gosh, I mean, you mentioned Japan. Suzu Naraki, she's in there. And forgive
I
me,
think
folks.
they should also give them nicknames, Mark. Like, honestly, like I hear the Negro Leagues talk, and they always mention all these great nicknames like Satchel Paige, etc. Like, just give me nicknames, and then that'll get the catchiness going, right? Give all these different, attributes that these players have. Give them nicknames, make them famous. Who was it? Billy the Kid that said that? I'll make you famous. And you know, but I'm looking forward to it, is all I'm saying. I'm hoping that they have a few, interesting ways of grabbing people's attention that we haven't thought of yet. And that's all I'm trying to do here, is trying to get my mind around, if I was doing this, would I just keep it clean and simple and like all the other leagues did it, so that I don't stand out? Or do I go a little bit more Savannah Bananas and kind of grab everybody's attention? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Oh, it's great times, my friend. Exciting times for them. Like I said, we got to get them on here anyway. I haven't really got much else, Matt.
The last thing I want to mention is that we have a World Series game 5 tonight.
Yeah.
We know for a fact, no matter what, the World Series will be won in Canada. Right? So does that mean that the US can put a tariff on that piece of metal as it gets across the border? Or does the tariff go into place when it goes back to the United States, and, whenever that happens? That's what I want to know.
Oh, we were joking about this last week about who would invite who, and right now there's no love between the U.S. president and a lot of people, or him with a lot of people. So
Did you hear what he said about that, though?
Yeah, that was wrong though. I know, I saw that, and I think I found elsewhere. Check that one. If you're talking about, if he said that, I was scared to death. So the first thing I did was start trying to find if that was accurate, and don't believe it is.
I think it's great that the two teams that are playing respect each other. I believe the majority of both countries respect each other the same way. And I think that, eventually, way down the road, we'll all look back on this nonsense and kind of have learned a lot of good lessons from it. But for this World Series, I think it's very interesting that, the political side of things likes to paint it a certain way just because it fits their motif. And I think I'm glad that the players haven't fallen into that trap or been asked the questions to kind of fall into traps, and they've kept it all about baseball for the most part. And so that's nice to see as well. So I wanted to mention that for the series.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, my friend. So tonight, again, we've got Mr. Blake Snell with the Dodgers and Trey Yesavage. And I am really curious to see how much different or how much similar it looks like to that first one. And one thing's for sure, that young man Yesavage is definitely going to have a better comfort level, I'm sure, than that first night out in the World Series.
Yep. Do you have a prediction for us, Mark?
Yes, I do. I say that tonight, I believe that we will see the Dodgers come back. I think they'll win by 2, and the game would be something like 7-5. And then I think when after that, we'll see the Blue Jays come home and win the next 2.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to say the Blue Jays get to the Dodgers pen again and are able to pull off a win. But the Dodgers win the first game back in Toronto, and it goes to the Game 7.
Wow.
And I'm not ready to make a prediction yet on Game 7.
Well, that's what makes it all so fun, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting go. And if they do go to a Game 7, Mark, I'm telling you right now, that place is going to be insane. They're going to have to, tap some oxygen into that Rogers Center or whatever they call it now, TD Bank Center or whatever. Because the fans are really into it. The emotions are going to be high, and I'm curious to see also how much the tickets sell for if it does go to Game 7. So we'll see how that goes.
Indeed. All right, my friend. Well, I'm going to get ready here to close the door so I can go watch the game. It's coming up here in just a couple minutes. I want to thank you all again for joining Matt and I here today on Baseball Biz on Deck. And we're going to do a lot more. I'm going to do a lot more homework on what's happening with the Women's Professional Baseball League. But I do want to stop and thank all of you all who've sent your prayers to me. I haven't made it broadly aware to everyone, but I was being treated for prostate cancer. And after having radiation treatment and other things, and it's lo and behold, I hit all the benchmarks to say I'm doing much, much better. And looks like, for now, everything looks good. So I want to thank all y'all for your prayers. And I want to remind you too, I really appreciate all that the people in medical do. They did so much, getting me through this. And a big part too is because having insurance, having Medicare or whatever else that we need to make sure that people who are in need have the ability to have access in healthcare. I know in Canada, it's a little more progressive about that. And I think that we should take a look at that model. But right now, at this moment in time, I'm going to urge every one of you all to pick up the phone, contact your representative and say, guess what, guys? You want to close the government down? You got to take care of this first. You didn't do that. And this is the sticking point. It's the sticking point of taking care of people. And if you're not going to step up and say, yes, I'm going to continue with subsidies, I'm going to be, instead you're going to be looking at people on the street, people who are not able to get care, then I have no use for you. I mean, we're also talking about the SNAP subsidies with food stamps. And my gosh, be a human. That's all I got to say to all those politicians. Be a human.
I'm right there with you, Mark, and I'm really ecstatic that you got through it and that you had the tremendous support you had. Definitely glad that you're able to get back through things. And I just want to add that healthcare is a right. Healthcare should be nonprofit 100% of the time. And the fact that they're able to make money off of people being sick is sickening. So hopefully everybody can get to that point where healthcare is affordable and, essentially free for everyone so that they can live long, happy lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So once again, thank you all. And I just felt the need to say that, and look forward to talking to y'all next week and talk about who's won the World Series, right? So it should be a lot of fun.
You have been listening to Baseball Biz on Deck. Just a reminder, if you enjoyed this show, go ahead, like, and subscribe to Baseball Biz on Deck. Also, you can find Matt at matgermain.b Sky Social. That's Matt at matgermain.b Sky Social, or Mark at baseballbizondeck.b Sky Social. You may also find Baseball Biz on Deck at iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at baseballbizondeck.com. Special thanks to XTakeRUX for the music, Rocking Forward.
Go Jays.
Go Jays.